Guys, so this one is making waves. The one big beautiful bill just squeaked through the US Senate with a 51-50 vote, thanks to JD Vance casting the tiebreaker. That nearly 900-page legislative package is one of those that is being called consequential and controversial bills in the recent United States history. And before we even do a breakdown of that, let's take a listen.
Interesting major news. So the Senate just passed Trump's one big beautiful bill. And check this out. The vote was at 50-50, with 3 of the Republicans in the Senate voting against the one big beautiful bill. Then Vice President JD Vance comes in and casts the tie-breaking vote to pass the one big beautiful bill. So now the bill will be passed back to the House of Representatives, where they will review the Senate's revised version of the bill. It will go for a final debate and vote, and if it passes, the bill will go to President Donald Trump's desk, where he will most likely sign the bill into law. Please follow for more news. And do you believe that the one big beautiful bill will be signed into law by Trump's deadline of July 4th?
Holy crap, they did it. They did it. They literally are passing the big beautiful bill. I was watching all these senators who said that they were going to vote no, ended up voting yes. And only 3 Republican senators voted no against the big beautiful bill. And JD Vance is on his way to break the tie. He's the tiebreaker. And obviously he's going to vote yes. So what does this mean? This means that more money is going to go to our military. We're going to be able to secure the border. That means more ICE agents are going to be getting hired left and right. More deportations on a wide scale. I hope the senators actually do what they say that they were going to do, is raise the debt $5 trillion to actually buy assets. It's called arbitrage. It's whenever you get in debt to buy something. And in this particular case, they're wanting to get in debt to pay down the debt. Like, we're up to like $37 trillion of debt. And man, this is crazy. I literally didn't think it was going to happen. Seriously. Wow. Happy 4th of July, Donald Trump. You're the freaking man. Seriously. Wow.
Fuck the Republicans, fuck this administration. The big beautiful bill just passed through the Senate, and Lisa Murkowski, do you know that you can vote fucking no for bills that you don't feel like are ready? How in the fuck are you going to vote yes for a bill and then turn around and tell reporters that you hope that the House is going to send it back because it's not fucking ready? Anybody with a fucking brain could have told you that. The amount of people that are going to be affected from this bill, no shit, it wasn't fucking ready. It shouldn't have been passed through in the first fucking place. You guys have been banking yourselves on not touching Medicaid at all. That's what you just campaigned on. And here you guys are, $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, and you're transferring that wealth directly over to tax cuts for the top 1%. Why do people who make more than $10 million, $100 million need to pay less in taxes than a person that makes a fraction of that? What fucking sense does that make? The amount of hospitals that are going to have to be closed down, the amount of disabled people that are going to be affected by this, and you guys just don't give a fuck because you're worried about lining your pockets? Are you serious?
The Senate just passed Trump's massive policy bill, and it could affect your healthcare, your grocery bill, and how we power the country. Republicans pushed it through after a marathon overnight session, and it came down to a 50-50 tie with Vice President JD Vance casting the deciding vote. So here's what's in it. The bill makes the biggest cuts to Medicaid we've ever seen, nearly $800 billion over the next 10 years. That means more than 10 million people could lose health coverage, especially low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities. It also shrinks funding for SNAP, the program that helps about 40 million Americans buy groceries. And on the climate front, it rolls back clean energy tax credits that were helping fuel the solar and wind boom. A surprise tax on renewables was added late in the process, but then pulled after backlash. But developers still say this bill could kill hundreds of planned clean energy and renewable projects. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis broke with his party and voted against it, just one of 3 Republicans to do so. The bill still passed and is now headed to the House. It also includes tax cuts, with some of the largest benefits going to high earners and corporations. Lawmakers are now racing to get it to Trump's desk before the 4th of July. So stay tuned.
All right, guys, let me provide some clarity and context as to what just happened with the big beautiful bill. A lot of people seem to be very concerned that this now goes to Donald Trump's desk for signature to become law, and that is not the case. There's still time to jump up and down and make a whole hell of a lot of noise. Why? Yes, the big beautiful bill did just pass the Senate with JD Vance as the tie-breaking vote. That means there were some Republican senators who defected and voted no on the bill, along with Democratic senators. What happens with the bill now is it goes back to the House of Representatives. and it has to pass the House of Representatives once again. Remember, the version of the big beautiful bill that originally passed the House is much different than the version that just passed the Senate, because Republicans in the Senate stripped out all kinds of things so that it could pass the Senate. They stripped out the ability to sell public lands, for instance, okay? So before a bill gets sent to a president's desk for signature, the House and the Senate have to pass the same version. So now that this bill that just passed the Senate is going to go back to the House, Republicans in the House are going to try to put all kinds of that stuff that got stripped out back into it as much as possible and pass a version that they think will still get the Senate's approval. What does that mean for the American people? That means there is still time to jump up and down and make a whole hell of a lot of noise. And the thing we need to be making the most noise about is the number of Americans who are going to lose access to Medicaid. Americans in rural communities seeking health care are going to be overwhelmingly harmed if this bill passes, okay? But it's not passed yet, okay? So there is still time. That's where it's at. It passed the Senate. It's got to go back to the House. The version has to pass the House, and the House and the Senate have to approve the same version of the big, beautiful bill before it goes to Donald Trump's desk for a signature. There's still time. Call your state representatives. Make your voice heard.
Now, from what we've listened there, we do find that the key provisions in the big beautiful bill is that one, there is going to be a tax cut extended, which locks in and expands Trump's 2017 tax cut. It includes the new breaks like no taxes on tips, overtime, and also social security income. There's also mass deportation funding, where billions will be allocated to expand ICE and fund large-scale deportation efforts. And it seems like what Donald Trump just said the other day, that he's not going to deport people, only the criminals. Now, if more money is being put into ICE, then it doesn't make sense what he just said the previous weeks. So it means ICE is gonna be raiding oftenly because they have the funds. Another thing is the defense and border spending, where more money will be going to the defense department, where there will be a major boost to the military and border security budgets, obviously again to curb immigration and also the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. There will also be cuts to social programs, and there will be deep reduction in Medicaid, food aid, and clean energy funding, which has really sparked a fierce backlash, where Medicaid for the longest has been helping people, and also food aid, where people have been receiving food stamps. People do feel like it's very wrong for the Donald Trump administration to just come about and slash all this. The debt ceiling raising up to $5 trillion has been increased, where critics say that this could balloon the national debt. You're saying like Elon Musk being at the forefront to call out the debt thing and how the debt in the US is really rising instead of the administration flattening it. Obviously, I'm going to bring you the video about Elon Musk and Donald Trump fallout again. This has also led to political fallout. Also, the Republican Party is having a divide because 3 GOP senators broke ranks to vote against it. They cite concerns over deficits and social safety net cuts, which this is unprecedented. Remember, it was a 50-50 tie, and this is because 3 of those senators voted against the bill. Another thing is the Democrats have slammed the bill as a gift for billionaires. This would harm the working families and also the local citizen. There's also economic and market reactions for this bill. The Wall Street and the defense and energy stocks have really risen, and crypto market is dipping, with bitcoins falling 1.5% amid fears of physical instability. If you guys have Bitcoin right now is, I think, at $100,000 to $107,000. Who knows what can happen in the next coming days, especially when the president puts the bill to assent.
Did you really think the Senate Republicans were going to save us from Trump's so-called big beautiful bill? Because they just proved once again who they really serve. And it's not you, me, or anyone struggling to get by in this country. Now, they're probably voting for this to pass as we speak, so here's what went down. They're holding a slim 53-47 majority, just lined up the votes to ram through Trump's one big beautiful bill. This thing is a wish list for the wealthy, extending the 2017 tax cuts, cutting SNAP and Medicaid, axing EV tax credits, and ballooning the deficit by trillions, all while telling working people that it's for their own good. They're celebrating tax-free tips for servers like it's some revolution, but what they're really doing is pulling the rug out from under millions who rely on food assistance or Medicaid. Not right away, by the way. No. The real plan hits a few years down the line. That's when the cuts kick in, and by then, they'll be long gone and blaming someone else for their fallout. And don't let the headlines fool you. This isn't about fiscal responsibility. The bill raises the debt ceiling by up to $5 trillion. So much for the party of balanced budgets, am I right? This is about funneling wealth to the top and leaving the cleanup to the next generation. Probably our generation and on. Here's my take. Every senator who voted for this bill sold out their communities for a pat on the back from their donors and a handshake from Trump. They know exactly who this hurts. But as long as the rich get richer and the stock market goes up, they'll pretend they don't hear us. Now, what pisses me off the most, it's the legacy. It won't be just us dealing with higher prices, gutted social programs, and mountains of debt. It's our kids and their kids. Every administration after this will have to work twice as hard to fix the damage. And trust me, as a veteran, as someone who's seen what government neglect looks like, this is the kind of disaster that's hard to clean up. Also, on a strange turn of events, just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, Trump even threatened to deport Elon over this bill, said he'll take a look at using the Department of Government Efficiency that Musk used to run to see if he can push him out of the country for criticizing the EV provisions in the bill. These are some freaking wild, crazy times. Do you think politicians ever stop to think about the generations who face the mess?
So Trump's mega bill just passed the Senate, and at this point, I think personally, these days, United States of America looks like Russia more than ever. Because guess what country also take money from broke people and gives it to billionaires? Russia does. Russia. This is one of the advantages to be rich in Russia, because you don't have to pay that much taxes. And here comes Trump's Senate mega bill, which says we cut Medicaid, we cut Medicare, we cut everything which belongs to broke people. They struggle to survive, but we take it from them just to have an opportunity to give tax cuts to billionaires, to the richest people in the world. Completely Russian wipe. I look like I moved from one Russia to another at this point, honestly. Don't get me wrong, it's still better than Russia, because in Russia, billionaires pay much, much lesser taxes than in the United States of America. And just regular workers can just pay something like 70% of their income in taxes in Russia. And for a billionaire, it can be like 2%, 5% or something like that. Yeah, it's still much worse in Russia, but hey, there is 3 more years of Trump administration in the office, yeah, right? They got plenty amount of time to fix that. You know what's interesting? I don't even need that Medicaid, Medicare. I don't need any of that SNAP. It's not for me. I'm not even eligible, but if even I was, I would not use it. So what am I doing here? Talking about the stuff I don't even need because I have an empathy. I don't like to take the last thing from people who struggle to survive, take it for me or billionaires. I don't want any of that. I want most unprotected parts of the society, especially American society, to prosper. And I think people in Trump's administration think the other way around. I guess they're just not like me. They don't have empathy or something. I don't know.
So while people feel like they can still make noise and, approach the senators and see if they can oppose this bill, I really do feel like that does not make sense, because the bill has already passed and is on the way to presidential assent. So we're gonna leave that aside. We're gonna look deep inside the key provisions of the bill, and we're gonna look first at the healthcare, which is a systemic restructuring of it. The bill does not just trim around the edges, it re-engineers the safety net where the Medicaid has been cut, and the bill looks forward to slash federal Medicaid funding over $1 trillion over the next 10 years. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, which has estimated up to 13.7 million people could lose this coverage. Imagine 13.7 million. That includes children, seniors in nursing homes, and people with disabilities. Remember, they're just saying that this Medicaid has been used by undocumented immigrants, but in real sense, there are Americans who are going to be inconvenienced by these very cuts that the big beautiful bill is gonna enforce. Another thing is the work requirements, where adults aged 19 to 64 must work over 80 hours a month to qualify for this. While being framed as promoting personal responsibility, people have realized that it punishes people in low wage brackets, and it also causes unstable jobs or those that are caring for family members, especially the breadwinners. There's also this issue of ACA rollbacks, where the bill ends automatic enrollment and sunsets the premium subsidies that helps millions afford coverage. It also tightens the eligibility verification and removes caps on repayment of excess access tax credit. Now this means that you gotta have your financial background loaded before you can access these things. There's also hospital fallout, where the rural hospitals are projected to lose over $321 billion in Medicaid payments over a decade, with up to 35 hospitals in Kentucky alone at risk of closure. That's not just a healthcare issue, it's an economic one, especially in red states. Remember, in rural areas, these people do not earn like people in urban areas, so we have to look at that. Dr. Alison Galvani of Yale warned that the bill could lead to 51,000 unnecessary deaths annually due to loss of coverage because people can't simply afford these medical bills. When we go to the second major provision, which is the immigration, and there is the issue of enforcement over integration. The bill represents the largest expansion of the immigration enforcement since the DHS was created in 2003. The bill is set to allocate $150 billion for this enforcement, and it includes $46.5 billion for border wall construction, assuming that is the continuation of that border that was created in Mexico area, and also $45 billion for detention centers and $14.4 billion for deportation operations. For the border, I'm 50-50 on that, but these other two make it make sense. At least do something about the numbers. You can allocate, but do something about the numbers. The numbers is too big. Amidst all that, there is the detention surge, where ICE would gain capacity to detain over 100,000 people daily, which is an 800% increase. There's also new fees for asylum seekers, the TPS applicants, and even unaccompanied minors face non-waivable fees, some even over $1,000. Entangled in that is the remittance tax. A 3.5% tax on money sent abroad by non-citizens could hit immigrant families hard. There was also mixed status families. The bill bars federal benefits to households with undocumented members, even if US citizens' children are involved. It is not just about the border security, it's a philosophical shift towards deterrence and exclusion. There is the issue of economic impact. Is it growth or is it a gamble? The bill's economic effects are deeply contested, where supporters of it says that it will grow and boost the economy in such a way that the Council of Economic Advisor projects up to 5.2% GDP growth, where over 7.4 million jobs will be created and $11.6K in higher wages per worker over the next 4 years. And also there is the issue of tax relief, where no taxes on tips and overtime or security income will be applied, and a family of 4 could see over 13.3K more in take home pay. While those who are against it see that there will be a deficit explosion, where the CBO estimates that the bill will add $2.4 to $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. There's also the issue of crowding out, where US Budget Lab projects that by 2054, the debt to GDP could hit 183%, with the GDP shrinking 3% compared to a no-bill scenario. While looking at all this, we have to consider inflation and interest rates, where higher debt could raise borrowing costs and reduce fiscal flexibility in future crises. So, while the bill may offer short-term stimulus, long-term risks loom large, especially if growth projection will fall short in the coming years. It leaves us with a question in mind: that is the bill actually in favor of the Americans, or is it going to hit them hard in the coming future? So you guys let me know your thoughts or your opinions in the comment section down there below. Don't forget to check the original creators. Their usernames have been embedded in the Stitch videos. As always, consider going to their TikToks, follow, like for this channel. Make sure you hit the huge thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so that you may not miss my next uploads. Let me meet you in the next one. Peace out.